Today's episode of the Bill Simmons podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. We have been trying to get the Knicks to use ZipRecruiter to find their next coach because the list of suspects they have been bringing in are all people that should not coach the Knicks. Mike Woodson, Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy. We've seen all these people. They need a new coach. They need new blood. They should use ZipRecruiter. 80% of employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within a day. My listeners can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/BS. Meanwhile, SeatGeek, the best app for buying and selling tickets to sporting events, concerts, and more for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase on any game or sporting event, NBA, NHL, baseball, music, whatever you want. You know what to do. Use promo code BS. Special thanks to SeatGeek for hooking my daughter and her friends up to Sunday's JT concert in Los Angeles. Her 13th birthday is coming up. I was able to impress her with this incredible connection from SeatGeek. Also, my daughter is turning 13. Kill me now. Put a gun to my head and pull the trigger. Oh my God, what is happening? Download the SeatGeek app or go right to SeatGeek.com. We have some Ringer news. Oh yeah. On the Ringer Podcast Network, The Dave Chang Show. You can subscribe to this right now. Our friend David Chang, the world's greatest chef. He's been on this podcast many times. He's been on Joe House's House of Carbs many times. And now, finally, he has his own podcast. It is launching on Thursday this week. You can hear The Dave Chang Show. We're going to try to do it every week. He is a busy dude. You might have seen him on Netflix with his Ugly Delicious show. You might have heard him on our podcast. You might have gone to one of his many great restaurants, including the one in LA, Major Domo. We've been talking about this for months and months and months. And here's how that's a fact. Because as part of this show, we taped 5 episodes from December through April that we called the Pre-Opening Diaries, which was basically me and Chang talking about what it's like to open a restaurant. And it's really cool how it turned out. And it's not going to be the whole podcast. It's just going to be five of maybe the first 8 or 9 episodes we're going to run. The first one we taped, it was in mid-December when he was about a month away from launching Major Domo in LA. And we taped 3 before it launched and then 2 after. And in the third one, it's about a week before the restaurant's launching. And he's like melting down and freaking out and has every neurosis you can possibly have. I think it's really cool how it turned out. And that's also not eventually going to be what the podcast is. Eventually, he's going to have guests and chefs and celebrities and talk about dishes that he's fascinated by and restaurants he's fascinated by. It's going to go in a whole bunch of great directions. Sports. He loves everything. He was meant to have a podcast. He's one of the best guests I've had. I get hungry just talking about him. People have wondered, how is House of Carbs and the Dave Chang Show going to coexist? First of all, their bellies have coexisted for years and years. Second of all, Chang's thing isn't going to be as much about food. I mean, it's food's going to be a part of it, but it's more about culture. House's thing is just like, I'm hungry. It's just overwhelming. You can feel his saliva breathing through the microphone. But we love food at The Ringer, and it's something that I think we're going to keep pushing into a little bit. We have Danny Chow on TheRinger.com who has written some really great food pieces for us. And I'm trying to convince him to write a food column. And I'm basically going to have to beat him up to convince him to do it. I really want Danny Chow's food column. Just write 800 words about some sandwich you liked. Gotta force him to do that. We got to find a couple other writers. But it's like, we love food. We love food here at The Ringer, and we're going to keep kind of dipping into it. The Dave Chang Show, subscribe now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. I think this podcast is going to be really, really good, and it's a great addition to our network. So check that out. Check out all the great stuff on TheRinger.com. We have Danny Kelly's last mock draft for the NFL. We have Chris Ryan writing an orgasmic piece about the Sixers. I can only describe it as orgasmic. There is a Philly-Boston. We're 1 win away from a Celtics advancing to round 2, playing Philly, Eagles-Patriots, the sequel. And we have like 8 Ringer Philly fans at The Ringer and not nearly enough Boston fans, which is my fault as a boss. I really did a bad job on that front. But We barely got through the Super Bowl. Now we're going to have 7 games of the process versus the president, Brad Stevens. There might be fisticuffs. I don't know how it's going to play out. Last thing before we get to today's podcast, tomorrow night is an awesome TV night. We have a couple huge playoff games. We have the NFL draft. We even have some hockey. We are going to tape a podcast late tomorrow night with a very special guest in my office. We're going to watch the games. We're going to tape about 10:30 Pacific time. It will be in your, however you get your pods. It'll be right there waiting for you. Either late night if you're a night owl or if you have a cocaine problem, or the next morning when you wake up and you're going to the gym, or you're going to your commute, or you're doing more cocaine. Whatever you're doing, I don't judge. That podcast will be up and it will be ready to go. So check all that out. Coming up, I'm going to talk a little bit of basketball, and then we're getting to Jerrod Carmichael, who him and I have been circling each other for years to do a podcast, and it finally happened. That's all coming up right after our friends from Pearl Jam. All right, I wanted to hit some basketball really quick before we get to Jerrod, because there's some storylines in play that I think have an expiration date before we get to tomorrow's going to be, when we do the Thursday night podcast, it's going to be all basketball NFL draft. There's some stuff in play right now that I wanted to talk about really quickly, partly because it's going to expire and partly because I just feel like these are storylines that people are going to start talking about, and I just wanted to get my 2 cents in before they kind of balloon. You've heard me talk about the Sixers and how this happens maybe once a decade in the NBA, where you have this team that seems like they're too young and everybody just assumes they're not ready yet. And the only reason people underestimate them is because of age and youth and a lack of experience, and there's no other good reason. It became clear down the stretch in April that Philly had the most talented team in the East. What we didn't know was how they were going to respond in the playoffs when the stakes were higher. And I was looking at somebody like Ben Simmons and thinking to myself, this guy didn't play in any big games in college, really has only played one NBA season. The biggest game he's played in this whole year was a Friday night game at home against LeBron and a pretty mediocre Cavs team other than LeBron. I want to see what it's like in the playoffs. I want to see what it's like when Spoelstra's throwing the kitchen sink at him and Miami's got their weird teams and they're getting all chippy and they're taking cheap shots at him. I want to see what that's like. I want to see what it's like, how Embiid and Simmons coexist when Embiid comes back. I want to see how some of their young guys like Covington respond. I had some questions. By the middle of game 3, I was in. And I think I even tweeted during that. I was like, Philly's making the finals. It's going to happen. The things that impressed me about them, other than just they have more talent than everybody and they have 2 of the best 15 guys in the league, the confidence is really, really unusual. I think the toughness and the confidence specifically, their inability to get rattled, their kind of FU edge that they have. Miami took a bunch of shots at Simmons during this series and he responded. I don't know how much of it was the Australian in him and how much he's just a bad MFer, but really carried himself with a certain arrogance that as you keep going in these playoffs, especially if they end up facing somebody like LeBron, you have to have that kind of irrational confidence and that kind of swagger and just that toughness. This team definitely has it. The other thing that's interesting about them, they added Ilyasova and Bellinelli at the deadline. Bellinelli would have been on my team in December if I was a contender. He was making like $6 million a year. That was outrageous. This guy's been in big games. He's a good 3-point shooter, and he's feisty, and he's not afraid, and is exactly the type of guy you should be looking for in the playoffs. Philly was able to just steal those guys. To Brian Colangelo's credit, coming off one of the dumbest trades in the last 5 years when he traded a really, really juicy Kings pick, which also was a Lakers pick partly at the time, and to do the Fultz upgrade when he just could have taken Jason Tatum and kept the pick. That's a really bad trade. He salvaged it a little bit with Bellinelli and with Ilyasova. And if you watch last night, especially, I knew they were going to win last night because Dwayne Wade basically gave the exit interview after Game 4 and talked about how great Philly was and how he was so impressed by them. Once he is not searching for an edge anymore, the series is over. But if you notice last night in crunch time, they had Redick, Bellinelli, and Ilyasova out there. His team is older and more experienced than I think people realize, and that's why I want to talk about comparing them to, I think, 4 other teams that remind me of this team, and all 4 had the same. They're not ready yet. They're too young. We've talked about them below in the pod, but I wanted to go into them. The 77 Blazers, which, if you remember, when I had Mike Francesa on a few weeks ago, I threw their name out and he reacted, just completely disagreed. And, sometimes he's right and I'm wrong, but this time he's wrong and I'm right. Congrats to Mike, by the way, getting back in the action on WFAN. But 77 Blazers, they were 49-33, and they were a 3 seed. Now, this was a really weird NBA season. It was an unusually stacked league. I wrote about this in my book of basketball, which I hope you read, but it was the year after the ABA-NBA merger. All of these great young players moved into the NBA, and at that point, I think they only had 21 teams, and the league was just stacked. It was probably the weirdest, rarest year they've ever had, where it was just everybody was good. Nobody won more than 53 games that year. So the Blazers won 49. They were a 3 seed. Bill Walton was 24. He played 35 games as a rookie, 51 in his second year, and only 65 that year. Sounds a little familiar, right? The injury-plagued center sounds like Embiid. Maurice Lucas, who was their all-star power forward, he was 25. Lionel Hollins, 23, who ended up having a really nice career as just in a lot of playoff games and was a really reliable guard. Johnny Davis was their fast guy. He was 21. Bobby Gross was 23. So this was the core of their team was 25 and under, and their best player was 24. They did not have home court in round 2 or round 3, which might be how it plays out for Philly. They won't have home court in Boston if Boston makes it. And then in round 3, if Toronto makes it, they won't have home court either. Their big break that year was that the Lakers beat Golden State in 7. And that was a really good Warriors team because they had Rick Barry, who was at the tail end of his apex. And then they had this young core of Jamal Wilkes, Gus Williams, Robert Parrish, Phil Smith. It's just a team that was probably the most talented team of anyone that year, and LA took them out. Did I say Robert Parrish? Robert Parrish was on that team. The Lakers took them out, and it was really a one-man Laker team. And when we got to the next round, Walton had a whole Kareem thing. Walton always did great against Kareem. It was just the best break they could have gotten. So they ended up making the finals. Walton averaged an 18, 15, and 6, 3.5 blocks in the playoffs. And then in game 2 in the finals, I think they might have lost the finals if not for this fight that happened at the end of game 2 with Maurice Lucas and Daryl Dawkins. And Daryl Dawkins flipped out afterwards, destroyed the bathroom, was really mad his teammates didn't defend him. And I spent a year with Doug Collins, who's my personal coach, my mentor. Not my mentor, but my rabbi. And he said that fight ruined that series for them, that from a chemistry standpoint, they were never the same after that, and really wonders what would have happened if that didn't happen. So anyway, they caught every break. They actually won the title. The next 3 teams I'm going to mention did not. The 86 Rockets, 51-31. So these are 2 teams in a row that are right in the win range of where the Sixers were this year. They were a 2 seed. They were basically a 2-man team. Ralph Sampson, 25 years old, had not gotten hurt yet and was considered a franchise guy and a top 15 guy. Hakeem Olajuwon, 23 years old, also a franchise guy. And they had 2 of the top 15. Nobody thought they were ready yet. Their point guard was John Lucas, who had a really up and down career because he just had drug problems for the first decade of his career, but was an amazing talent. And when they had him, they were really good. And unfortunately for them, in March, he disappeared, and that was it. He didn't play again because he had a relapse. Everybody thought they were done. They beat Denver in round 2. They lucked out a little bit because the West wasn't that good. Then they played LA in round 3, and it was a strange LA team. They had kind of gone for speed over a mix of size and speed, and they were this kind of run and gun team. It was their way of moving away from Kareem and toward Magic, but they did it incorrectly. And they were too small. And Hakeem and Ralph just destroyed them on the boards. Just destroyed them. And the Lakers won the first game. The Rockets won the next 4, and they clinched it in game 5. And it was just, it was like a tsunami watching it. By the end of the series, like, oh my God, the Rockets are going to win the next 10 titles. And I think that's how people felt about the 77 Blazers too. The next year, the 77 Blazers were 50-10 before Walton got hurt. And as I covered in my book, one of the great what ifs, one of the great what if teams ever, right up there with the 2012 Thunder and a couple others of, man, if Walton stays healthy, that Blazers team could have won 5 or 6 titles, which is why you should read Breaks of the Game by David Halberstam. This Rockets team ends up going against what I think is the best team of all time, the 86 Celtics in the finals, takes them to 6, lose. Next year, their backcourt, Lewis Lloyd and Mitchell Wiggins, both get busted for drugs. Team falls apart. Sampson gets hurt, and within a year, it's over. Not saying that's going to happen to the Sixers, just saying that's what happened. The third team, by the way, with that 86 Rockets, it was like, oh my God, where did this team come from? Which is kind of what it seems like people feel like about the Sixers team now, and they shouldn't, because we could see the signs for this in early April. The 95 Magic, I think they had a little bit more pedigree than the Sixers team. They went 57-25. They were the 1 seed. They were the first in offensive rating. Like the Sixers, Shaq, 23 years old, Penny, 23 years old. They also had Dennis Scott, 25, Nick Anderson, 26. So the core of their team was young, but they also had 2 really good vets, Horace Grant, Brian Shaw. And this was an excellent Magic team that we kind of thought might make it. Riley's Knicks were still involved. We had Reggie Miller's Pacers, but more importantly, Jordan came back from baseball in mid-March. And when that happened, everybody's like, oh, Jordan's going to win the title again. But their big break was that Jordan was in baseball shape, not basketball shape. And he was just rusty. And they were able to beat the Bulls in 6. And subsequently, the NBA destroyed all of the tapes from those games, and they're never on television because, God forbid, we ever see Michael Jordan in a moment of weakness. But they whooped their asses. And then it goes to, they beat Indiana in an awesome series that's also never on TV. And by the time they get to the finals, Shaq was one of the 5 best players in the league, and Penny was probably somewhere between 6 and 10. And it just seemed like they were going to be in the finals for the next 20 years. And Nick Anderson misses the 4 free throws famously in game 1. They blow it. Everything spirals. Hakeem sweeps them. Also doubling as one of the great gambling moments of my life, because I had Houston at like plus 500 or something. And that was it. The next year, everything self-combusted. Shaq left 13 months later, and they were done. And then the last one is the 2012 Thunder. They went 47-19. They were a 2 seed. KD was 23. Russ was 23. Harden 22. Ibaka 22. KD and Russ averaged 52 a game that year. Harden off the bench was 17 a game. They were just really good. They were young. And we still didn't totally feel like they were ready. It was the big break they got for them that year was it was a very strange season because it was a lockout. All the games were condensed. And I think having young legs really helped them. They ended up playing San Antonio, who was the 1 seed. Well, first of all, the first big break they got was that Dallas didn't keep their team together and they let Tyson Chandler go. Because I actually think Dallas could have made another run that year. And OKC ended up sweeping them. Then the second big break was just young legs. And they go to the San Antonio series in the Western Finals. And it's 2-2 going into game 5 in San Antonio. And then they just basically beat them up the next 2 games, and that was it. And all of a sudden, OKC was in the finals, and none of us could believe it. It just seemed early. But it made sense. KD was, at that point, one of the 5 best guys in the league, and Russ was probably in the top 12, and Harden was the best 6th man, and Ibaka was a great role guy, and it made sense. They go to the finals. Really, those first 4 games against Miami were way closer, I think, than people realized, and easily could have been 3-1 OKC if a couple of plays had gone differently. They lose in 5. You know what happens next, the Harden trade, and it's not the same after that. So I think the Sixers are in that group, and I think they're going to make the finals. And Vegas finally agrees. The Sixers are plus 160 to win the East. which makes them the favorites. We have some concerns, I guess, would be, it actually made me nervous that they celebrated like they did after round one. That was the first time I was like, oh yeah, this team really is young. Like they're really celebrating that they beat Miami. Like they should already be looking ahead. You keep your eyes on the prize, fellas. But at the same time, I get it when you go through the process and being shit on and all that stuff. I think they are by far the best team in the East. I really do. I don't even think it's like, oh, they have a slight advantage. It was like they have the most talent and they should win, and they have an incredible crowd at home. And I'd be very surprised if they were healthy for these next two rounds and did not make the finals. I think they're the best team. Vegas agrees. Other than that, we have these game fives tonight that I just wanted to go through quickly. And unfortunately, my computer, I hate when it does that. Okay, there we go. Wizards Raps. Raptors favored by 7. I don't even know how you put lines on these games because the Wizards are so Jekyll and Hyde. Like they could totally win. They could totally lose by 20. Stay away. Don't gamble on this. Pacers Cavs shocked me. The Cavs are favored by 6.5. I actually think the Pacers are better off playing on the road than at home. Don't ask me why. It feels like at home they're almost like too jacked. Oladipo looked like he was too revved up. He's got to figure out a way to settle down and be a little more in control. He was out of control in those Indiana games at Indiana. I don't trust this Cavs team at all. They basically lose game 4 unless Kyle Korver just starts making crazy shots. They don't have a second scoring option at all. And the stuff they're doing on defense to hide how many bad defensive players they have is really gimmicky. And there's also a history of LeBron with these game 5s in Cleveland when he has a shaky team, kind of blowing the game 5 and then either rallying back to win the series anyway or kind of fizzling out. It happened in 2010. It almost happened in 2012. I like the Pacers plus 6.5 in that one. I think the Pacers are pretty good. Wolves Rockets. It feels like that series is over. The Wolves had their chance in game 4. Jazz Thunder, wanted to talk about really quickly. It's shocking to me how discombobulated the Thunder were in this series. And I was expecting it. I really thought, not only did I think they were going to lose to the Jazz, I bet on the Jazz. The Jazz were like 2-1 underdogs. I just thought this was the dream matchup if you're the Jazz. You have a team that has a point guard who is a little out of control and loves going to the rim, and you have the best rim protector in the league, and a good bench and a great home crowd and a really smart, disciplined, well-coached team going against a team that just jacks up shots and relies on somebody who's playing 200 miles an hour. Russ was out of his mind in game 4 in mostly a good way. Like the competitiveness he showed in that game, I thought was really breathtaking. It was like watching a crazed running back playing for his life and carrying the ball like 58 times and just taking on tacklers every time. He was awesome, but he also wasn't awesome because he was out of control. He did not really know how to run the team. They kept riding Carmelo, who's just washed. It really seems like he might be done. And Paul George got his ass kicked by Joe Ingles. And that team did everything you do when you know you don't have the right team. They just fell apart and got super chippy and acted like petulantly. And, as somebody who loves watching good basketball, I really enjoy watching the hero ball teams go down in flames. I would much rather watch a team like Utah, and I would much rather watch the much maligned Rick Rubio, who got called out by Westbrook and then proceeded to stick it to the Thunder yet again. I could see a scenario where the league kind of does a wink wink and the Thunder shoots 58 free throws tonight. That worries me. I think you can referee Gobert any way you want, and you could basically call him for touch fouls on every play if you wanted to. So that part worries me. But I think that series is done. And whether it's done tonight or whether it's done in Game 6. They are not winning Game 6 at Utah. And it'll be interesting to see if the Thunder just completely break tonight. One thing I wanted to mention about Russ, and you saw it in Game 4 specifically, his career, in high school, he was a late bloomer, like a really late bloomer. Like he was barely even on the recruiting scene and then kind of shot up at the end. He went to UCLA. He was a guy that rose up the ranks because he was such an unbelievable athlete. I loved him in college. He was not the best player on that team. They had Kevin Love. They had Darren Collison. I think they had Darren Collison. But he was not the guy on that team. And then he went to the Thunder, and he was not really the guy in the Thunder the entire time Durant was there, except for the 1 year Durant got hurt, and the team didn't do that well either. And you saw this happen last year against Houston in the playoffs, and you're seeing it happen against Utah. He hasn't been in a lot of, I'm the best player on the team, I have to problem solve, I have to figure out what to do situations. Whereas even you take a guy like Donovan Mitchell, that guy's probably been the best guy on his team since the 6th grade, and he's been in all kinds of situations. A guy like Durant has been the best guy on his team since basically he grew to 6'7", and for years and years has been in this situation of, okay, I know what it's like when I'm the guy. Westbrook, we've seen him in the regular season, but in the playoffs move at a different speed. Teams are throwing crazy things at you and mixing defensive looks and trying to take you out of your game. And the pattern with him, which I think we can officially call a pattern, is he's not a good problem solver as the team's best player. He's not somebody that can kind of ride with the flow and go, oh, you're doing this, I'm going to do this. I think you look at somebody like Kyrie, who was a monster in high school, that lost the college year at Duke, and then was in a situation where he had to carry some bad Cleveland teams for a couple of years. LeBron showed up. He had reached a point where he could take the car keys from LeBron when LeBron wanted to give them to him. Goes to Boston before he got hurt. Really kind of had a feel for how to run that team and when to step up, when not to step up. And I think if we got in the playoffs, that would have continued. With Westbrook, not really seeing it. I'm not seeing a guy who solves problems as the team's best player. I'm seeing a guy who is like a one-man wrecking crew that can't really change his game. I don't think somebody like Carmelo, who just cannot get going in this series, Russ isn't going to help him get going. He might do slash and kick open three, but it's not like he can really push Carmelo to another level. It is what it is. And I just don't think the one-man wrecking crew routine works in the playoffs. I think you have to have more to your game, but that's what makes Russ such a compelling guy. There's really been nobody like him. That fills up the stat sheet like he does, but doesn't seem to be able to pull his teammates into it and pull the best possible performances out of them. And we've seen that last year. We saw that this year too. With all that said, this would be a great time for him to make the leap right now. Down 3-1 against a superior team, against a team that provides all these different challenges for him. And I feel like this is a little bit of a fork in the road moment for him. I really do. He's been in the league now since 2008. This is his 10th year. You kind of are what you are at some point. So I'll be very interested to see what happens with him tonight. Hey, with Google Assistant, you can complete over 1 million actions on your phone, in your car, around the house. It's perfect for movie night. You can get movie info and showtimes directly from your assistant just by saying, hey, Google, what movies are playing? Google can even flip a coin for you. Watch this. I'm going to have Google flip a coin for me. So heads, I'm going to tell you the best parlay for Game 5. And tails, I'm going to tell you the best upset pick for Game 5. All right, Google, flip the coin for me.
All right. You got tails.
Ooh, tails. Okay. Best upset pick for Game 5. Going money line. Indiana plus 240 in Cleveland. I always look at odds this way. If they play this game 3 times, does Cleveland win? Or if they play this game 10 times, how many does Indiana win? I actually think Indiana would win this game 4 out of 10 times. So if I'm getting plus 240, perfect. That's it. Thank you, Google Assistant. Thanks for flipping that for me. Thank God. I don't know what else I would have done, but it's pretty amazing that they could They can do everything for you. They can tell you the weather. They can flip a coin, whatever you want. Go get the Google Assistant right now. All right. Coming up, our interview with Jerrod Carmichael. We taped it Tuesday afternoon. He's my favorite guest because he had nothing to plug. He just wanted to come and shoot the shit. Here's what happened. All right, we're taping this Tuesday afternoon. Jerrod Carmichael finally here. It's been over a 2-year odyssey to get us together.
We've been trying for a really long time.
You're a busy dude, man.
I don't know what I'm doing, man. This is fun. This is really like every poster in here is like incredible. It's really, really incredible. I can't
appreciate
stop
it.
looking
We love when
around
people
everything.
appreciate the posters.
Yeah,
you
no,
were
it's
saying
great.
you got
Ali
into
and Frazier and Andre the Giant.
You were saying you got into Nirvana, Nevermind late.
Yeah, like
you're only
year
30.
and a half ago. Yeah. It just certain things you just miss. You just miss it.
Yeah.
I remember calling my friend like a year ago. Like, have you heard Lithium? Oh my God, Lithium!
What is that?
Yeah, it's amazing. Then I just went down a whole. Where Did You Sleep Last Night on Unplugged is one of the best live vocal performances I've ever heard.
Unplugged is one of those things that went away, and I'm not exactly sure why. I thought it was always a great test of a band being able to give a different look and resonate with the audience. And
yeah,
there were some great ones.
It's difficult. Live instrumentation isn't the most popular thing right now, just by nature of where music is. So it's like, it's only, I can think of a lot of artists that would really crush an Unplugged.
I agree.
Right? But I can't think of a lot of, I don't even know if people use the term top 40 anymore, but like of those artists that it would make sense for. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not a lot. So
it used to it had a way bigger impact. And I don't know whether it was just we had less channels, but I remember when Mariah Carey did hers and she had Trey Lorenz came in.
Yeah.
And they did the cover of I'll Be There from the Jacksons.
Which is great.
And he became a star overnight. It was like, who's this guy? He's a star. And I don't even think he had any hit albums.
That one was incredible. Lauryn Hill's Unplugged.
Oh my God.
Probably
top 5.
Yeah. It's my personal favorite one. It's so it's incredibly soothing and thoughtful. And again, her voice, she has like kind of a raspiness to her voice that's like it's just, and these are all new songs. These are all new songs, and she's just like performing them, and it's beautiful. And even times when there's a song called "I Just Want You Around," where she ends it saying, "I don't even know how this ends." It's one of those songs that would fade out if you were in the studio.
Yeah,
and she just stopped it, and it's just beautiful, like natural, beautiful moments.
I look at her from that decade. Like if you compare the musicians to athletes, she, for me, is like the Penny Hardaway of that decade. Kind
That's
of
interesting.
Had a really nice, great, memorable 4 or 5 year run, but it should have been like 25. And then, I don't know, she got kind of enigmatic, and she would show up super late to concerts and show up super late to gigs and everything.
It's crazy because listen, she has, I count it as 2. A lot of people say 1, but I count the Unplugged as one thing.
That's fair.
As a full album. This is all new songs.
Yeah.
It's strange to me people don't count it, but it's all new songs recorded. There's an audience, but it's incredible. And maybe that was, maybe she will again. I mean, she's still recording, and maybe she will again want to release like a full body of work. But like, that's she's more effective in those 2 than a lot of, artists are like 6 or 7 albums in. Like I play those consistently. Like if you go to like the, 25 most played songs, like songs from
those
her albums, it's gonna be up there. So it's like, it's funny. Like it's people with larger bodies of work that aren't as meaningful.
The first great one I remember was the Eric Clapton one, which I think was an Unplugged.
Is that with
But they released that as a CD back in the days.
Did he do Babyface? Was that with Babyface Changed the World on that one?
Yeah. He did a very, very slow Layla and all this, but it was just a great album.
Yeah,
and it kind of it rejuvenated him in the late '80s a little bit.
What are you listening to now though?
See, I listen to playlists now.
Like just like friends.
I don't listen to albums. Yeah, I just make different playlists of different, I have them all labeled in weird ways, or it's either artists or like different moods. And
what's the last full album that you?
Last full album I've listened to.
or enjoy. Not even just listen
to the mid
2000s that you enjoy. Like really a complete album. It's been mid
just from listening repeatedly from start to finish.
Start to finish.
I've listened to them once, but like I'd never be like, I'm going to put this album in. Listen to them once, and then I pick the songs I like and put them in a playlist. Yeah. What about you?
I mean, there's a couple. There's like Frank Ocean's Blonde. I think album. he did 2 Endless, which is like almost, certain songs are so short to the point of almost being samplers.
Yeah.
Right. And then he also did 2 Days Later, Blonde, and I can listen to both of those. Start to finish consistently. I do it like a lot. I listen to both of those start to finish constantly.
See, my generation, I'm in my late 40s now. And the albums, especially like you'd have to flip them over halfway through and stuff like that. But
that kept you mindful of it, right?
Because 100%.
Like when a record was on, and right? And you had to physically,
you heard everything. And it was a pain in the ass to move it ahead. It was a pain in the ass to...
You had to really want that album.
Yeah, and you would kind of get Stockholm Syndrome with some of the songs where you would, it'd be the eighth best song on the album, but after you heard the album 50 times, you'd be like, that song's kind of growing on me. And they just weren't good songs, but you just heard them so many times, you know all the beats.
Yeah.
And that's what I wonder whether that happens with music anymore. Whether people listen to the 8th best song on whatever 50 times.
I mean, there has to be, there has to be that. I don't know if it's as popular because things aren't as slow as they were.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you have to catch up to. It's like television. What's the docu series that came out on Netflix recently?
Wild Wild Country.
Wild Wild Country.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I'm just catching up to like the Jinx.
Yeah.
And like everyone's like Wild Wild Country, and then you're like, oh wait, 6 hours that we're gonna talk about for 2 weeks, and then we're gonna move on to the next. So you just kind of have to choose your own pace, and so listen to a song. If you're keeping up on music, it's like so many new. I mean, you can go to SoundCloud and hear complete. There are artists that are huge on SoundCloud that have complete things that you can hear. It's just hard. It's hard to give things the time that they need to like discover the nuances and discover everything about it. It's just culture moves really, really quickly.
Yeah, albums 25 years ago. I mean, I remember when all the albums came out and you always listened to them, and they all kind of captured some sort of vibe that I think seems to be happening still in hip hop to some degree.
Yeah.
But in general, like Taylor Swift definitely tries to do it, but I always feel like with her, it's this calculated choice. Like she meets with a bunch of people and she's like, this album coming out, what should my theme be? And then she tries to tie the songs to that theme, but it's not.
Everything's calculated when you add money to it.
Oh my God.
Because now you have 10 new job positions open and 10 people that try and justify the 6-figure salary, and they are going to give you a sheet of things and numbers and very smart people.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like really smart people, but it by nature of money, it brings more calculation because now it's how do we get more? How do we capitalize on this? And how do we, maintain it? How do we grow? It becomes a corporation in a sense.
Yeah, I like the old way, but that's where I become an old guy. Like Springsteen would just put out an album because he was getting too popular. So he's like, I'm putting out Nebraska.
Really?
I'm driving off half of my fan base with this. Here's some songs about serial killers. Enjoy
Kanye
this.
still does these shifts. I was thinking about Yeezus a lot today.
Yeah.
And just the true feat is to be in that space, whatever that space is.
Yeah.
Create in that space, feel confident enough to release in that space, have people have such a crazy reaction to it, and then release another album without it doesn't. We applaud just like every swing that he makes. That's such an amazing place to be in. Like every swing that he makes, because it's thoughtful. He really lived in this space.
Yeah.
And then he just released from whatever that was.
There's some Tiger Woods, like how when people think he has a chance to come back and be good at the Masters and people are just so happy he's back.
Yeah.
They really want it.
There was a moment a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, it was. And I do feel like a little bit that way with this Kanye announcing who's going to do more music. I think some people were really worried this wasn't happening. I had Scooter Braun on a couple months ago. I was like, is he going to make another album?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, he's going to make it. And I didn't totally believe it because you could have told me he was just going to do like design stuff and make shoes, and then he would have been happy for 10 years.
I don't think he can. I don't think he can stop making music. So. I really don't. I don't know him that well.
I don't think he would stop making it. I'm saying releasing it.
Oh, really? You think he would just sit on it?
I could just see him like sitting on music for 6 years. I'm so glad to hear he's like actually putting stuff out.
Maybe. I mean, but maybe like, I'm sure there's a vault, you know what I mean? Like with just like a lot of unreleased things, but like, I think Kanye releases, this is me. I mean, we've talked a few times about creative stuff, but not enough for me to speak for. Yeah. I can't speak for what his strategy is, but I would say just as an observer, he releases with everything in mind, right? The album, the visuals for the album are as important as the album,
and what the concert's going to look like.
What the concert looks like is as important as everything is. It's so thoughtful, and again, it all comes from that space that like. You have to release that. You can't hold, because even if you sit on music, like this idea for like the rollout or this idea for like the live production of it is, you have to do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think just as an artist, is just, you have to do it.
I thought what he did with the last album, I was so fascinated by that. He just put it out and kept messing with it, changing it, tweaking it, and it was just like he completely flipped the art form on its head.
Yeah, no, it was.
I like this song. Oh, now it's a week later. It's different.
That did make me want records again, or CDs, or some physical copy, because there was a couple of changes that I wanted. The original Ultralight Beam, I love a little bit more than what you can currently immediately get.
I think that's the reaction that he wanted, though. He wanted you to be frustrated wistful for this version from a week ago.
Yeah, I was like, what happened to the week ago version was perfect. Yeah,
he gives you this. It gives him this weird power over people, even his consumers. Like, why I'm going to change that again?
Just remotely, like the Wiz just changes the colors we're dancing to.
And now he's tweeting again. I'm so fascinated by him. He is our most fascinating
individual. Yeah, he's very fascinating. He's very honest.
He's all of a sudden he's tweeting like a maniac. And he's tweeting all these like fortune cookie sentences that you're like, what's he trying to say? Did he have these for 2 years? He's just going into a document and putting them on Twitter.
He probably has a draft.
I think he has a document. I think he's got like 10,000 words.
But just in notes,
Yeah.
Do you do that? Do you tweet a lot?
I tweet probably like, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 times a day, but probably half promotional.
Okay.
And then if I'm watching basketball, I've learned how to, How about you?
I'm not on any.
You're not on at all?
No.
So you're not on Twitter and you don't have a podcast?
Yeah, I don't.
You're basically different than any comic-based dude out there, I think.
Well, I mean, God bless the podcast. It seems like it would conflict with the art itself, the thoughts, because if you just constantly put it out, then they can't incubate and grow and change and
where you print out a rough draft of your thoughts.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, even Twitter, even like any post of just like, for me, that's how I feel about it. There are people I'm sure that can just go and go, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot of output.
I use it for like in the moment reactions that are going to die quickly and promotional stuff.
Yeah.
But there was a time when I probably used it for more than that. Like, I can't wait to make this joke. Now it's like, I'll save that for.
Do you think we contribute to the death of moments like kind of lingering and lasting because we kind of jump on it and
because
like
it's too fast?
But we all want to kind of throw out. It's kind of like a circle of just like people jonesing or riffing or whatever. Like it's everyone throws their joke in, and then we just go circle around something else.
I think what it's shown is that. Basically, anybody can make a joke that's relatively the same as anyone else's joke. I think I've told this story before on the podcast, but when I was in college, we used to love the killer from Silence of the Lambs, James Gumb. The guy, Jersey Silence of the Lambs. The guy who keeps the girl in the dungeon, but he was like, he had the deep voice. And we used to think he was the funniest person ever. And we were the only ones who thought, we thought this was funny. We were like, this is it. This is our little group of people who enjoy the hell out of this guy. And then when the internet comes around, I'm like, oh, everybody thinks he's funny.
Oh, well.
And it felt totally not special at all.
Yeah. I guess the silver lining is, we all have the same experiences.
Yeah. It was kind of humbling, but at the same time, oh, we weren't weird.
Yeah. You weren't. You thought you were weird? He's really interested. I can see being really fascinated with.
I laughed in the theater when I saw it, and I was on a date, and like a couple people turned around and stink-eyed me. Because I was like, this guy's the greatest. Get this guy in more. And it was like this very tense thriller.
Just breaking.
Yeah. But Twitter, though, I think that I have noticed like the whirlpool gets faster. Like last week, Allie LaForce, the sideline reporter, asked LeBron James about Greg Popovich's wife who just died. And the game ended. And then LeBron came over, and instead of like, what was it like out there today? She's like, hey, look. But she had actually given him a heads up that she was going to ask him. Mm-hmm. In the interview, it seemed like she blindsided him with it. Mm-hmm. And people on Twitter reacted like she set off a bomb.
Oh, really?
In the arena. And they were so upset with her. And it was just rush to judgment. Let's murder this person.
Really?
And then LeBron was like, yeah, she asked me beforehand for... she gave me a heads up that it happened, and then the moment just dies. And it's like, well, what about this whole 75 minutes when everybody was just crushing this person and we didn't even have the facts yet?
You mean I'm missing scary. Fun stuff like that?
Oh yeah, that's what you're missing.
Oh my God, I missed that.
Oh, you're missing the outrage. Outrage culture is the best. People just getting bent out of shape. It's people very protective of other people's feelings by then attacking the person who hurt the feelings.
We're getting weird.
We're super weird.
We're getting weird. It's fun to watch it, but we're getting weird. It's because a lot of news is becoming reporting on things that we saw on social media.
Yeah.
It's just like, and guess what's on Twitter today? Like that's what like everybody's becoming. And
sports TV shows like that too. They just throw up tweets.
You just throw up tweets and Instagram posts and everything. And now they're like articles and op-eds being written about a thing and a tweet. And there's this guy who's a writer who was mad at a joke on Roseanne, and it's just then he's like writing an article in the Times about his tweets about his anger at a joke, which he was wrong about, but had an outlet, and that's good, I guess.
You're not missing out on much.
It's very silly.
I get a lot of info from it. I found out about it. Like I just looked on Twitter just now, and I found out that Meek Mill got out of jail, and he's going to be at the Sixers game tonight. Yeah.
Oh, that's great news.
So that's Twitter. I found that out on Twitter.
Oh, that's great news.
One of the Philly owners got him out.
Really?
Yeah. So I think he's going to be. We're taping this Tuesday. I think he's going to be at Game 5 tonight. And he'll probably get a bigger ovation than Embiid and Simmons.
It's going to be insane. It's
going to be amazing.
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, you might have to get on.
I got to get on Twitter.
What you could do is there's this app called Nuzzle. So you could follow these accounts and then just go on the Nuzzle app and you just get all the news from the people you follow without their thoughts and tweets.
Wait.
And you can find out news though. I'll show it to you after we're done.
Yeah, wait. What are you filtering out?
You're basically filtering if I'm tweeting a story. Mm-hmm. Like I'm tweeting the Meek Mill story. That would show up on your Nuzzle feed. Yeah. But you wouldn't get my 3 accompanying tweets about, here are my thoughts on Meek Mill coming back.
Oh, okay.
You would just get the story itself. So you're weeding out all of humanity other than the information.
Is there an app where I can weed out sass about Donald Trump?
Yeah. It's called the mute button.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, just like just Trump sass.
Yeah. People love it, man.
Do people know it's white noise? Does white noise know it's white noise? Does the tree falling in the forest know that it fell?
At this point, I think people know.
Do they know and they just contribute to it? I don't want to sound like a 93-year-old bitter whatever, because I'm not. And I do think it's great that people have voices. And the writer who was wrong about the Roseanne joke should have an outlet to criticize, right? Yeah. But then everything becomes, this should not happen. And everyone pretends to be a civil rights leader from the comfort of their own couch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like very easy civil rights, like the laziest Martin Luthers I've ever seen before in my life. You know what I mean? Like just like it. Like, can you imagine if anyway
Martin Luther King in the 60s?
Yeah, we don't even have to go into the bit of it. We know the absurdity of it just off the but you should have an outlet. You should have a place to voice yourself. You should be heard. You should just also think about things for a second and maybe give it a week.
But I don't think people know how to mobilize anymore. I think that's part of the problem.
Well, because we have the illusion of being mobilized
all the time
while still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we have the illusion of we are all united against this thing.
Now
when
what?
In reality,
now what do we
potentially it does have our attention for the moment and hopefully for real issues. You know what I mean? Like for very real things that are happening where people are dying and and whatnot. Then it is actual mobilization. But like, a lot of it is, it's too easy.
Well, like the marches, which I really respect and kudos to everybody who went out for those. That's people's way of mobilizing. It says some sort of statement, but then the moment ends and it's just kind of over.
Yeah.
And then we're back to where we were the day before.
The only thing I will say, the only thing I don't understand about marches is I think, it's almost too civilized.
Well,
it's almost too, and I know it's civilians doing the thing, but I wish that they were more disruptive. Like it should be happening, it should be, let's stand on the streets and just block traffic for days.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, let's just you think about, the marches on Selma and it being representative, and that's, beautiful. And we try and echo that and we try and capture those things. But a lot of times we can let, even our intentions being in a good place, we can let how it's broadcast turn it and minimalize it. You know what I mean? Like make it a concert and make it a fun event as opposed to what it really should be and represent. And
as opposed to like if 25,000 people drove their cars to where the airport entrance is and just lined them up so it would be impossible to tow.
Yeah.
And then nobody could get in and out of the airport.
Yeah. I mean,
now they're affecting people's lives.
A sit-in at a Woolworth's counter in Greensboro is breaking the law actively.
Yeah.
Actively breaking the law. They were not allowed to sit there. We're going to go in and we're going to sit there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it broke the law. It was peaceful. And it was civilized in that sense, but it was disruptive, like just thinking about it from, I think we have to apply, that sense of, a hint of anarchy, if you will, to like, is that crazy? It's not like a crazy thing to say into a microphone, but.
No, I think you're right. And the danger of talking about this stuff now in 2018 is somebody takes the headline and says, comic Jerrod Carmichael advocates for complete anarchy. And then they turn their headline and then they don't listen to the context of what you said.
And that headline will be 30% false.
Yeah. Which is kind of where we are now.
30% false. I am 70% of me is advocating anarchy. Complete destruction in the streets, fires. And then 30% of me realizes that
we can't do that.
That costs a lot in insurance. I don't know. Why am I against that? I don't know.
I mean, it's a good point though. Disrupting something can take a lot of different forms.
Yeah.
If you're marching for one day, you're basically announcing we don't like this. We want this to change, which is admirable. But you're doing this for somebody who right now does not care what those people think. And it's just bouncing off them. And if anything, he probably thinks this is great. Look at all the attention I'm getting today.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that solves.
I just don't want us to substitute, Abby Hoffman speeches on a campus for gratitude that Twitter extended your character count. You know what I mean? Like trading those things. It feels false. It feels like, you're kind of being controlled more than you realize.
Where'd you grow up?
North Carolina.
So North Carolina, where do things stand right now in general with everything?
In North Carolina?
Yeah.
I'm not really.
Like when you go back there, do you go back there often?
I go back. I have my family's there. And so,
so what do people in like North Carolina think about what's happening right now?
I mean, listen, I'm from a place where, and it's part of the reason, me sounding critical over white noise and stuff like that, is that I'm from a place where people have really focused attention and energy on a lot of like needs and necessities, and a lot of the things that we in our bubbles of New York and LA, and it seems loud because we have the biggest microphones or microphones at all. Like they focus in North Carolina on, you know, real stuff, income, you know, like raising a kid, really schools, specific things. And it feels good to be around that as like a reminder, because focus is what calms outrage. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, because then, you know, like I wouldn't describe, you know, Malcolm X even as outrage. It was focused on a specific thing, focused on basic needs and focused on like, you know, like true things. And like in North Carolina, it really is a sense of that. It is a sense of like, you know, it's, I mean the term regular people in a positive sense of just like, you know, very honest, regular people.
Quick break to talk about Simply Safe Home Security, my old friends. I'm a big fan of Simply Safe. They are ready for anything that gets thrown at it. If a storm takes out your power, Simply Safe is ready. If an intruder cuts your phone line, Simply Safe is ready. Say someone destroys your keypad or siren, Simply Safe will still get you the help you need. Maybe it's overkill. Maybe you don't need to be ready for every worst case scenario. Simply Safe is always ready just in case. That's what makes it great. Now, Simply Safe could cost an arm and a leg, and it probably should, but it doesn't. That's because they're good people. They charge you what is fair, what is right. $14.99 a month. That's it. No contracts, no hidden fees. I recommend Simply Safe to everyone. I know you have to check it out. Go today to simplysafe.com/BS. That is simplysafe with 2 I's.com/BS. Back to me and Jerrod. I intentionally did not research this because I just wanted to shoot the shit with you. But the one thing I remember about you is you just moved here to do stand-up and you hadn't even really done stand-up.
Yeah. I hadn't done it before at all. I just turned 20.
You just hopped in a car and that you were like, I think I can be a comedian.
My sister bought me a plane ticket on Cheapo Air. I remember
Cheapo Air.
I remember it was on the ticket, Cheapo Air. It was the sweetest thing ever. She bought me my flight out, no return.
So this was 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So who were your big influences at that point? Who were you like, I want to be this person?
That's a good question. I don't know. My influences, like when you think about like Hollywood in general, have always been kind of this mix of like artists and producers, and you know, like my infatuation probably. I remember seeing like a documentary on Sumner Redstone.
Yeah.
You know, and being like, oh, I want to do that. You know what I mean? Like I remember seeing that and Puff Daddy's Behind the Music.
Wow. I
remember those two things. It was a Dateline. I'm saying documentaries. It was like a Dateline piece on Sumner Redstone, Puff Daddy Behind the Music, and I was like, that was the entertainment industry was like kind of through that kind of lens, and so I moved out. My heroes have always been, you know, those guys, and then in comedy, you know, is just it was a fun art to try and figure out. It was like a real fun thing to just go to mics. And
so what was your first move? You show up,
you go to I
went to the
comedy
store. 30-day apartment. What'd you do?
You know, it's funny, my first apartment is right around the corner.
Really?
From here, on Gower. And I remember this neighborhood's changed a little bit. It's nice.
Yeah, it's getting there.
It's nicer.
Yeah, nicer. It's definitely nicer. Yeah.
10 years ago, it was not as nice. My first apartment here, it was like a 1-bedroom with 3 people already in it.
And then you're just 3 people.
And then I moved to a studio on Bronson.
Yeah.
Which was a studio with 4 people in it.
Oh my God.
So it was like, you know, I upgraded and downgraded at the same time.
And you're just going to comedy clubs trying to work on your stuff?
Yeah, you just you hit open mics, I went to the Comedy Store first. That's why I shot my first special there.
Yeah.
It was, you just kind of do it till you figure it out. You figure out audiences. It's a fun thing. You got to really do it if you're going to do it. You know what I mean? Like you can't kind of do it. So like it was fun dedicating all of my time to stand up.
How'd you figure out your rhythm for how you deliver stuff? Because I think your rhythm's really distinct. It's definitely like, it feels like the joke's over, but you're waiting, and then you go in like one more time, and you kind of move the audience. It's just a little different than what people are used to, and I think it's really effective.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, you want to keep it honest, to like your natural way.
Like you like silence. You'll use silence as a friend.
Yeah.
You'll kind of just wait out the crowd for 4 or 5 seconds, and they would be like, is he going to keep going? And then you keep going with it.
Yeah. I'm thinking sometimes it's like a thing will come to you in the moment. Sometimes you give the audience a second. I say a couple things where you got to give the audience a second.
Yeah.
Like it's not even laughter. It's just like, wait, what?
Right.
And so the pauses are just a lot of times I'm thinking, I'm like, all right, where are we gonna go next? What do we want to talk about?
Well, when you do like an HBO special, which you've done too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that all planned out, or do you leave a little room in the act to maybe veer off, or is everything just like
it's
orchestrating it?
A lot of it is planned out. A lot of it is thoughts I've had before and done a bunch. It's not quite Beyonce at Coachella, nailing it on marks type of thing. Is just kind of like you spend more time. I spend more time thinking about the thought itself than like the act. Does it make sense? Like, do you still feel this way? What does this mean? What are you saying? That type of stuff. Over than like, all right, this joke works and this tag and the thing. It ends where I think the thought ends.
What do you think? Like 5 years ago, what were people expecting from you when they went to go see you? If they had to describe you in a sentence in 2013, what were they thinking?
In 2013, I don't know.
Just like that guy he's a young comic.
Well, when people hear comic, the thought is this like court jester. People have, don't make a joke about me. If you talk to like non-comedians and they're just like, are you going to put this in your act? And you're just like, you think this is what I'm.
That's what my life's like. Yeah.
but like, they think silly guy, which it can be. Sometimes it can be the silliest thing in the world. Sure. And that's great. And there are people who've mastered physical, like things that are like a bit big, and that's their taste and their point of view, and they're right, and that's great. But like, that's kind of the first thought that people think. Yeah. And so seeing me or anyone, especially if they don't know you and they're going to a comedy club or they're going to a place and it's like comedians,
prove it to me.
Yeah, part of my rhythm is I have to adjust the audience perception a little bit of what this is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like exactly whatever this is, a lot of comedy isn't, I don't know. I prefer to have a conversation with you.
But now in 2018, people know what they're getting.
I haven't really done it a lot, so I have no idea what the expectation is. Like I haven't really done stand up but
you're out of the loop completely?
I mean, I hear about people that are really funny, and like I hear about it from like friends and stuff like that. But every now and then I'll be like on a walk or something, and I'll like just go by the club every now and then. But for the most part, I don't.
Interesting, because most people that get into it, it seems like, it's just part of their. They can't shake it.
Yeah,
it's like, I gotta go do 10 minutes at the Comedy Store.
Yeah, no,
10:30 at night.
It's just not where my focus is. Yeah, no, I love it, and I think it's a great art form at its best.
Yeah,
but it's just not where my head is right now. Like it's
because you just signed a new deal, right? You're doing a whole bunch of stuff.
That's not even. Well, I've been working on television a lot, I guess. So that's part of it. But it's been fun. It's been fun, like kind of. Just producing, writing,
solving creative dilemmas.
Yeah,
just the show you did for NBC was like the kind of show that I grew up with in the 70s. Was the old school.
That's a very nice. Thank you.
It was the old school network sitcom with a little heart.
Well, you want to, Norman Lear did it great, excellent. He was the best, and like. And I know what that meant and what it felt like hearing some of those things said on television, and I just wanted to do that, it seemed fun and more interesting. I'd rather just stay, grounded.
What was the best thing you learned from that show?
It's a lot of things. I mean, a lot of things in production. It's funny. I've probably been in production in some capacity as long as I've been doing stand-up.
Yeah.
So like you learn a lot about production and producing and balancing things and who,
So you can direct now. You're ready to be a director.
A little.
You could do it.
A little. I have a thing that I'm gonna do soon-ish that I'll direct. It is fun. If you can see it as a complete thing, you should do it. You know what I mean? Like, take as much control as you think you're worthy of.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's like, well, I see this complete thing. So
what was the biggest thing you would do over with the show?
I mean, there are a couple episodes that fell through the cracks. That just by nature of time, you just didn't.
Like too ambitious?
Not even too ambitious, but it's just time, especially in production. It moves, very fast, and every week you're shooting a new thing. And if the script, the scripts took a lot of time. It was, just me and Ari in a room trying to really make sure the perspective makes sense and that it has enough of a clash. And it could, certain episodes just by nature of time, like it just kind of fell through. And, it doesn't feel great to have anything out there that you wouldn't fall on your sword for, and so there are a few episodes that I wish, we could have fixed. But for the most part, it was a great experience. It was really, really great. And really
Were you
fun.
influenced by what decade? 70s, 80s, 90s, all of them?
Yeah, kind of all of them, a little bit of all of them. I'm influenced by, it's not even I can't have nostalgia for it. I wasn't alive during it, but like the 70s, a lot of content cut through.
Yeah.
And especially in this landscape, it just seemed like the thing that filled the void, like that made the most sense.
We only had 3 channels back then.
Yeah.
I watched all those shows. I was like 7 in 1976. So it was like everything you would have thought I would watch, I watched every episode of. And the shows were like, you really felt like you were part of these people's lives.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we had a lot of options back then, Like I really felt like when J.J. Evans's dad died, I felt like a family member died. It was devastating.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, he's dead?
Now, you would have read about the contract dispute.
I would have known the whole
over
thing.
The summer.
Yeah.
And then like
John Amos is mad at Jimmy Walker.
It takes a little sadness off of,
Yeah. Well, I remember when Farrah Fawcett left
James
Charlie's
Dial.
Angels, not understanding it. If she's going to leave, she's going to go make movies. Like, what?
Yeah.
She's not coming back?
Why is Suzanne Summers not on this
that was
season
another
of
one.
Three's Company?
Oh, my God.
But Patrick Duffy, why did he die and then reappear in the shower?
This is great. We love sometimes
contract disputes.
I follow this back to Twitter, this account called Retro News, and they'll pop some TV guide covers every once in a while.
Oh, really?
And or People Magazine or something. And, like that Three's Company dispute, the contract thing, that was covered the same way like Aniston, Brad Pitt, and Angelina.
Oh, really? Yeah,
oh my God. It was deep. Because like 30 million people watched that show.
Yeah,
like, think about that.
It meant a lot
to
a lot of people.
It was like the Super Bowl. Now you have these shows. I don't know what the peak audience is. I guess Game of Thrones is probably the outlier. Other than that, everything, like you mentioned Wild Wild Country earlier, it's like, I don't know how many people actually watch that show.
Yeah, I've been in New York and LA around it, so I don't even know. Because sometimes things can seem really loud and then you legitimately leave New York, LA, a couple other pockets, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Wait, is anybody watching this?
Yeah.
Nobody?
Killing Eve? Anybody?
Yeah. Us and our shows everybody. Yeah, Killing Eve. Yeah, no.
People can't sit here like, what? Killing who?
Nobody.
Who's Eve?
Nobody. Like, you hit a little. Just go by TV by the numbers.
So do you have an office? You have a company? What's going on?
I mean, yeah, I have a company. I mean, I'm kind of.
You go in there. You have people working for you.
Yeah.
Get you coffee.
I never use my offices. When you're like there till 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Use it, but like I work from home a lot, and I work from
From the studio on Bronson?
Or just hotels or like, I do a lot of hotels and stuff.
So what's next for you? What's coming? Are you mysterious about all this shit?
I'm not even being mysterious. It just seems, that seems like the weirdest thing to talk about. Right? Because
I don't know if you announced anything.
No, don't you hate announcements?
I don't know. I intentionally didn't do research.
It's like, bro, let me just do the thing. And then the thing will be on.
Okay.
And then if you like the thing, then there'll
be more of the thing.
Yeah, there'll be more of the thing.
Are you based here in New York? Or both?
I'm mostly here. I just go to New York randomly for no reason. I look for reasons.
I'm very down on New York these days.
Why?
Well, one thing, I'm from Boston, so I'm naturally down in New York. But we had Jesus and Mero were here a couple of days ago. We were talking about how New York is basically going to turn into Escape from New York when the subway system goes down.
Oh, that's
and it's just going to be like everybody's just stuck there.
It's the L. What else is going down? It's like
the L's going down. Everyone in Brooklyn's just stuck in Brooklyn for 18 months.
Lyft, you better get the fleet ready.
Better get about a million more Lyft cars.
Yeah.
But then
how
where
many
do they go?
Accords can we get by the time the L? Okay.
Well, it needs more like the high speed ferries. That's what they really need.
Oh, wait.
So it's ferries, you go from like Brooklyn across the water, but
how long is that?
I don't know. I can't think of anything worse. It really sounds it sounds like a Sylvester Stallone movie.
Yeah, it sounds, when I think ferry, it just images of Ellis Island start popping in my head. Yeah. It was just like, it's dark, man. It's dark. I want to get on a ferry to go get brunch. You get on a ferry?
Yeah, for 40 minutes.
And get on a boat that seems insane.
During like 22-degree weather.
It was like on a boat. Like it's like I came by boat.
That's why it's nice out here.
To prune.
Everything's nice and spread out here. I think like LA has the upper hand right now.
LA is nice. I mean, New York is fun. New York is I can squeeze a lot into one day in New York, and I enjoy that. You know, I just saw like a 4-hour matinee, like Iceman cometh, and then I still got some work done somehow.
Right.
That would have been the day in LA.
Yeah.
Like 4-hour like if I would have probably gone to a theater downtown, that would have taken like an hour.
Are you a sports fan or no?
No, I'm like a
fake sports fan.
When the playoffs hit, it turns the volume turns up. I like the
so like you know what's going on now.
Kind of, yeah. What's that?
You know what's going on now.
I'm starting to. I start to hear about it. Then I'll be watching games. You know, by
football,
next
basketball, everything.
Everything, whatever. It's like mostly football, basketball.
This is the place to give your NBA thoughts right now. You probably don't get asked very often.
I don't have a lot of thoughts on the NBA.
LeBron
right now.
James.
I mean, LeBron's incredible. That's a thought.
Have you met these people?
He's incredible, and I've read about his investments, and they're really smart.
The investments are smart.
Very good investments.
Yeah, he's done a pretty good job.
Dear God.
What happens when you meet these people? Just random? Like some people go nuts. Other people they're like, hey man, what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, people are nice. Everybody's nice. Everybody's rich. It's nice. You got on soft sweaters.
Soft sweaters.
Yeah. Just like soft sweater. Like you haven't felt discomfort in a while. You're nice. Everyone's nice.
Felt discomfort.
Yeah. I mean, sure, there's emotional pain. There's tons of emotional pain, but enough stuff to numb it.
Yeah. Well, it's a good time to be a content provider. I think you're in a good spot right now.
Yeah, there's a thirst. There's a
lot of people. You probably have a lot of people asking for meetings. Hey, come on in.
Well,
We'd love to meet with you.
Oh, there's always meetings.
Come on in. Can you come in at 2?
LA is kind of that scene from Annie Hall.
Yeah.
Of him coming to LA. It is kind of that.
Especially now. It's all these suitors. Tons of suitors. Supposedly there's 500 and something TV shows in production right now.
That's
like 508.
That's too much.
Seems like a lot.
That is just too much.
People in Kansas City can't follow
catch up to it. I can't catch up to. Everybody's got an app. I sound like an elderly man. But
you're like the oldest 30-year-old ever met.
But it's just like here's the thing. I think people actually feel this way. They just don't say it in a, gruff, mildly Jewish inflection. But everybody's got an app. It's crazy. I don't even know where Stars is.
Much less Black
I don't know
Stars.
how to find Stars. I'll get to you later, Crackle.
Crackle.
Where the fuck am I supposed to find these things?
Yeah,
Dear God.
I bought a new TV for my dad. My dad's never had a smart
YouTube,
TV.
Netflix. Okay.
My dad's never had a sport TV, and I was explaining to him what Hulu was, and it was like I was explaining a UFO landing to him. He was so confused by it. He's like, all the shows are on it? I'm like, yeah, all the shows. CSI? So all the CSIs? I'm like, yeah.
Hulu's gaining on them.
Hulu's gaining.
I also just recently sold a show to Hulu, so of course I would say that in this moment. But they're gaining on them. They are. They got a good. Well,
they have the TV library. They're like, I missed Survivor last night. I'm gonna go. Like they just have a million.
Yeah.
And then Netflix makes all their own stuff, and then Amazon basically has everything else.
Let me ask you a question. How big are you guys on pauses? Because I drank a lot of water before coming here, and I gotta.
You want to take a break?
Can we do that and come right back after these messages?
Press pause.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, we'll do an ad right now.
Crazy?
Yeah, I'll do an ad.
We'll be right back.
One more break to talk about my friends from Hotel Tonight. If you're like me and you're not so great at planning ahead, I've got good news. Our friends at Hotel Tonight have an awesome app that helps you find amazing hotel deals at the last minute. Book next week tonight. Book next month tonight. All it takes is 10 seconds. Just 3 taps and a swipe. No long, endless lists of a zillion hotel choices. Hotel Tonight only shows you the best deals at the best hotels. Perfect whether you're a planner or you like to leave things at the very last minute. As you've heard me say, I've used Hotel Tonight for multiple youth soccer tournaments for my daughter. And now my son's good at baseball now, and I feel like he's going to be on a travel baseball team this fall. And I'm going to be so bitter that I'm going to these 9-hour doubleheaders with watching my son bat 3 times and maybe pitch 2 innings. But the good news is I'll be in a great hotel from Hotel Tonight. With their HT Perks program, the more you book, the better the deals get, unlike other loyalty programs where you're trapped into staying at boring chain hotels. It's not like that here. Start scoring amazing deals at incredible hotels. Download the Hotel Tonight app right now. Back to Jerrod. Let's talk about the NBC show, because you had people on that show that then their careers have taken off the last couple of years. I think that show's going to be looked back at 10 years from now like, whoa, all those people were on that show. Holy shit.
Yeah, no.
How did that only last 2 years?
It's a show. Ro was joking with me. He was like, if we pitched that show and cast now, we would get like
you get Netflix and be like,
here's
a 9-figure check.
An insane. Yeah, no, it's a lot's changed. I just, it's people that I knew were great that I just wanted to be surrounded by. I know that's like the easy, but that really was all it was. Like, wrote the part for Ro, Amber, I wanted for a pilot presentation. She couldn't do it. She came back around for the pilot, so I wrote it with her, for her. Haddish, who I've known for a very long time and, has always been one of the most dynamic personalities I've ever met. One of the most fearless people I've ever met. Like, and someone who's gone through a lot and has allowed that to turn into like a positive attitude somehow.
Right. And
told me years ago, she was like, in the lobby of the Laugh Factory, is like, I'm going to work for you. You're going to write a part for me and I'm going to work for you. Like, she's, and now that the world knows her, they know it. That sounds like her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It sounds like her. So,
she's been described, I know a few people who have either worked with her, interacted with her, whatever, like as a force of nature at all times.
No, she's great. She's great. I mean, she just has the burden of opportunity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and she's fantastic and honest. That's what it is. She's honest. You know when you're getting a real person or not.
It was weird that it took Girls Trip for her to break through, because she had a couple other at-bats where she was great.
Well, the thing is, Girls Trip.
Well, I guess it did a monster.
Did numbers, right? And so that, that's really important. It was a movie that essentially just showcased her. With all due respect to everybody involved on it, it may as well have been her reel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was like Tiffany Haddish's reel. And someone like Tiffany is someone that it is a little bit difficult to get authenticity through. And she's a really big example of that, because she's someone that, I've had the battles with casting, and people pushing back against her.
What was the case against her, just out of curiosity?
You just haven't really seen her You haven't seen her. She doesn't fit a type because everything is so natural to her. We've seen the black friend that does a very surfaced version of Tiffany. Tiffany is just so honest, and it's from a natural place, and she knows how to maintain that while on camera.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. You look at it, you're like, oh, that's a lot. She's someone that people would have said to me, she's a little too this, she's too whatever. She's just very honest, and you can see that. I mean, I know her, you know what I mean? Like, I not only have I known her for a while, but I know her, that woman, I know is my cousin. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, she's like, I grew up with her.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you see her and you're like, oh yeah, we need her. She, without respect, replaced an actress on my show because you see it and you're like, yeah, of course. I had to. She's great. But Rel, the same thing. Rel is one of the most honest performers I've ever seen. Just a very honest, natural ability to him, and just authentic. He's just an authentic person. What you see is him.
So when you saw Get Out, were you like, yes?
Yeah, I thought that was great.
Yes.
I thought that was great. I mean, that was a big yes for a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was you're like, of course. I mean, features are always the just by nature, not even just the numbers of it, but by nature of marketing, always going to be the thing that kind of pushes you. The difference between movie star and television star are marketing dollars and push. You're more likely to hear a name 15 times in a week because of a movie than you are for anything else. Right. So having Rel and Tiffany like in features is a really important thing. You're just out by nature of promotion, by nature of all going up to bat for one weekend.
The cool thing about those two was I thought Get Out was the best movie last year. It's just a good movie. I think it's a movie that's going to stand the test of time. 10 years from now, I think people will look back and be like, why didn't that win the Oscar? What happened?
Yeah. No, I think it was, what I liked about it was like, it was interesting, it was dark, but it was fun. I describe it as the movie Michael Jackson was watching in Thriller. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of what it was, like that vibe. Everybody's just in there, you eating popcorn.
Yeah.
You take a date, it's a full experience.
We do have this podcast called The Rewatchables where we just break down movies that we like.
Yeah.
And we talked about this one 2 months ago, and I was saying it's so rare to have the awesome in theater experience anymore.
Yeah.
Where you're in a movie and just everybody's locked in and kind of moving with the movie. And then, when he shows up at the end, my theater went nuts.
Yeah.
It was just cool. It doesn't really happen anymore. It's hard to share that with 500 people.
Horror gives you, more of that, it's not a lot of directors that take ownership over the material.
Yeah.
And that really, a lot of times throughout the creative process, what I'm learning and seeing the pattern of is everyone trying to bend the thing to fit the form. And mold it to fit it, and just like the every act is kind of structured based off of other things, and horror gives you the ability to craft a bit more of a unique experience by nature of setting a set of rules for the content itself. Like, horror has a set of rules because the villain or the monster or what you're up against, has a way it moves. And so you have to set up rules around that, and it gives it its own unique structure. I wish we saw that more in comedy. You don't,
But say comedy and horror get such a lack of respect especially around award season.
Yeah,
I thought Tiffany Haddish should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actress.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like there's no way that wasn't one of the best 5 performances.
Well, yeah,
who else could have done it?
A dynamic performance that stands out in a feature that,
and also who else could have played it? That's the thing. I was looking at it like, who else could play that part and own that movie like that? No. Nobody, not one person.
No.
But we don't judge the Oscars like that. They look at it like, oh, The Shape of Water. What What an emotional performance, by the way. I'm pretty sure 20 actresses could have played the lady from The Shape of Water.
Is great.
I know he's great,
was
but
wasn't my bag. Was asking for a lot.
Nobody's like, oh, good, the Blu-ray came out. I'm going to watch it 7 more times.
Yeah. I mean, the Oscars,
The Oscars are frustrating.
Yeah, it's weird. It's always a weird thing. It's,
so,
what were you saying?
When you took your show to NBC, what were the reasons behind going with a traditional network versus going to cable or like a place that maybe you'd have a little more freedom?
Seemed like more of a challenge, which is fun. On
a challenge in what respect?
Well,
like that you reach
personal,
more people?
It felt kind of like going to boot camp first. Everything is, every form of development is easier than broadcast network development. Like as far as television goes, every form is easier. And I wanted to do this is the reason I moved to LA first, because New York was closer. And you do that because of that. Also a certain, affinity for it, just growing up with it. Like growing up watching those types of things. Nobody from my generation was really doing it, so it seemed interesting. Yeah. To do like a multicam format. Like it seemed like the least cool thing you could do. And then because we'd seen a million, everyone was trying to do their Louis. Yeah. Or what they extract from Louis. So it's just a bunch of comedians looking pensive.
Single camera.
Yeah, with a zoom and some type of French horn. So I was like, I don't want to do that. So I did something else. That's pretty much what it was. My apologies. I feel like I'm talking a lot of shit.
I didn't find that shit. That's funny.
I don't want to talk a lot of shit. I don't mean it in a negative way.
I didn't take it as shit talking. Did you, Tommy? No.
But I'm just saying, like, just things that just felt, I don't know.
I still like your idea of pitching the exact same show, but with everybody in a bigger platform position. Oh, just going back. Yeah, that'd be just bringing the band back together. We didn't talk about Dag.
I mean, he's great. Somebody I learned from. I love being around. I thought it was, I still think it's fantastic.
I've known him for a while because for some reasons he's very good friends with Adam Carolla. So I've been at a lot of different functions with him, and he's like one of the greatest hangs.
He's the best hang.
He's just a good hang.
He is the
best
hang.
He's ready to argue and talk and all kinds of shit. And he's just ready to go.
He and Loretta together were fun. Him and Loretta, would just like get into these arguments. It was fun because they've known each other for years, and like it felt like having your parents on set. Right. You know what I mean? Like it was like great, and he's the coolest guy in the world.
I was thinking about him the other day because they announced they're remaking Boomerang, which I have a lot of.
Wait, what?
BET's remaking Boomerang.
Oh, okay.
As a TV series, which I have complicated feelings about, but
okay.
But I was thinking about how long ago that was when he's in that movie. It's him, Eddie, and Martin Lawrence. It's Eddie's comeback movie.
He plays Gerard, and I'm Gerard, and we always.
I think if they made Boomerang now, probably Gerard's gay. I think would have been the wrinkle.
You think so?
Yeah. I don't think they were ready to go down that road in 92.
And Holly's character didn't connect. I don't know. Maybe. If they did, God, if you put a studio in it, probably, Martin Lawrence's character is Asian now. Just like their diversity, because everybody's afraid of Twitter, so they just want to make sure that everyone's represented. Dear God. Oh, man.
So there's
a flip side to diversity. Okay. This is the one that ruins everything, right? This is the podcast. Be talking to Bill. There's also a condescending version. Okay.
First of all,
I don't know if I can articulate those thoughts in a way that won't destroy my life.
It was funny though.
Oh, thanks.
I get what you mean. People are very conscious of a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but
they're very, very conscious these days.
Sidney Poitier, after he won the Oscar, was he had conflicting feelings about how to celebrate it because he felt like he was being treated as a token.
Yeah.
Right. And and that's a very interesting feeling. And I'm surprised more people don't share that feeling. Like even in the moment, sometimes it does feel a little condescending. Like, I don't even know how I got to this, but like, diversity is like, it's like, use people because they're good and not because it's in the moment. My fear is that this thing becomes like this fad that we all try out and we're all.
Well, what's interesting about the last few years, just watching from afar, is Hollywood discovering that there's this massive black audience for all kinds of creative stuff.
Yeah.
Like it just dawned on them.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this Blackish is successful. We should look into
Black
that.
Panther and
Black Panther is a raging hit.
Yeah.
We should make more of these.
From a business standpoint, remove any feelings or whatever. From
Get Out. Get Out's another one.
Yeah. From a business standpoint, it made sense to, I mean, I don't know if you heard, but black people typically, I don't want to use the word dominate popular culture, but dominate probably sounds right. I mean, have been just for years, in music and in entertainment, like it's just kind of, it was shocking from a business standpoint that it took
that it was so enlightening to people that this was an audience that was sitting there.
Did you know?
My God,
that audiences come out in droves.
Creed was another one.
Yeah.
It's like Creed. Oh, I can't believe how well it did. We should do a sequel.
But also Ryan Coogler.
Yeah. Who's really good at his job.
Yeah. Is a brilliant director who, he's good. I mean, he deserves all the success that he's getting.
So in a weird way, we go through all this stuff and, that Oscars a couple years ago, and what was the hashtag? Oscars so white?
Yeah.
We go through this whole era, but now we're in this whole other era where Hollywood is now seeing the business opportunity, which is now going to bring all these opportunities for people. But yet it's such a basic common sense, like no fucking shit.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Do it because
there's an audience for this?
Do it because things are good. Do it things because you can make money from it. To put it in the very, it sounds gross terms, but like.
They're just thinking about it for the money.
Yeah, it's smart.
If it's good, it's a bonus. Because they were the Tyler Perry movies, which nobody's going to remember that fondly 20 years from now, but all those things were pretty money. He's made like how many, 10 of them?
He has
so they knew the audience was there.
Model for it. Yeah, he has a really good, he kind of like started like the 1090 deal and the whole thing. Yeah, but
is he another guy you respect these moguls?
Yeah.
He's got to be on the list.
Yeah. I mean, if we're just being honest, I think he has one of the smartest. I mean, it's kind of a, like what Jason Blum is doing, right? Where it's just like micro budget,
he's amazing.
Content that can exist in, broadly and on a small budget. And it's just smart. He puts it up.
We had him on the podcast. What was that, 6 months ago, Tommy? Yeah. Smart dude, man.
Yeah.
Just figured it out. Yeah. He figured out this model.
It's a good model.
And guess what? In Hollywood these days, horror is the safest bet you can make.
Yeah.
If it's a half decent movie, it's going to do well. You just have to make sure it doesn't suck. And if it's a good premise that you can explain, like you just had Truth or Dare. My whole family watched it. It was great.
Yeah.
I love those movies.
Yeah. It's like people like you know what it is. A friend of mine was just talking about just anything with a clear premise, people can hold on to it.
Yeah.
People look for clarity in it. Sometimes art doesn't have to be muddy. It doesn't have to be like, and you tell me what it means.
Right.
It can be cool.
That's why if you go through Netflix, they just have dozens of horror movies about something's wrong with the house. And it's just all variations of this same idea. Because they know it's like, I'm flicking through. I'm like, oh, something's wrong with the house. What's wrong this time? Oh, somebody went in the attic?
Oh, I didn't know that was a subgenre. I didn't know like that.
It's not even a subgenre. It's a genre. Yeah.
The house is
Shouldn't have opened that chest. Shouldn't have brought that rock back from the Grand Canyon that your grandmother told you not to bring back.
It's just funny because I'm imagining it like scrolling through Netflix and just seeing there's something wrong with the house as like a thing that you
They should just do it. Just own it. Because the thing is, if you watch a couple of them, they start suggesting them. So you go to it's like, what does this say about me? There's 15 there's a row of 15 movies about something's wrong with the house.
Something's wrong with the house.
I've seen 14 of them.
And you enjoy all of them.
I love them. I love horror movies.
That's your thing.
I love horror movies.
You can't listen to a complete album because you're busy trying to figure out what's wrong with the house.
That's why I need a playlist instead of a real album. You got to make a something wrong with the house horror movie.
I mean, yeah.
There's it.
Yeah.
You get the whole band together.
Has there ever been a twist at the end of them that it was just like...
Somebody usually died. No, It's a bad septic tank.
Yeah, as it turns out, your septic tank.
Yeah, there's a raccoon is in there.
Yeah.
That's it. It's fine. Couple light bulbs broke just because they had been in there for a while. We're all good.
Yeah, it's just like, there's other rolling with the house. It turns out it's just asbestos. So, that does explain the rashes.
So you're semi-retired from stand-up?
No, I wouldn't even say retired. I'm just not doing it.
Let's make some headlines.
Make some headlines?
Yeah, you're semi-retired from stand-up.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, no, I don't think that's
I'm done. I'll never come back.
Headlineable. I don't do it. Last time I was on stage is at Largo, which wouldn't even stand up. I just got in an argument with this woman in the audience about Phantom Thread. And
what?
Yeah, she didn't like it.
Oh my God, Phantom Thread was amazing.
That. Yeah, it was incredible.
I saw it twice.
Saw it 6 times.
P.T. Anderson was sitting right there on that couch.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Can I take this
and
pillow?
love the posters. You guys have something in common. Remember?
Oh,
Tommy, who loved the posters more? PTA or him?
Probably you.
PTA did.
PTA liked it a
He
lot.
did. He liked this fast break poster.
Oh wow.
He got all excited about Gabe Kaplan.
Gabe Kaplan.
Yeah.
Mr. Cotter.
Yeah.
I listen to that song, that theme song, realistically once every 2 months.
The Welcome Back Cotter.
Yeah.
It's one of the all timers.
The full song is good.
John Sebastian. Yeah.
The
I'm trying to
video
think
of him
trying to think what my hierarchy is for greatest songs from that era. That's way up there. That might be number one.
Yeah. It's a great, and I sing it when my friends tell me that they just landed. I sing it with, it just pops in my head a lot.
The White Shadow had a really good one. The What's Happening, that was a good one.
Oh yeah, What's Happening was, it was,
and people love the Different Strokes one.
Different Strokes is great.
And then the Jeffersons, obviously. I think that actually might have been in the charts.
Jeffersons is what? Really?
Yeah, I think that was like a real song. One of them was a real song. I think it was a Jefferson.
That was sung by, wasn't it sung by the woman?
It was sung by Winona.
Oh yeah,
from Winona from Good Times.
Yeah,
yeah. She was one of the two people that sang.
Yeah,
this weird crossover.
So good.
Yeah,
it's such a good. Yeah, I love when it gives you get that euphoric feeling hearing like the first seconds of music.
How much time did you put into your theme song? Did you think about it?
We sung it.
Did you take it seriously?
It was the whole cast. Yeah, we sung it. We had there's an artist who worked with one of the creators that brought us in melodies, and we went to the studio all together and sung the theme song. It was fun. Yeah, we put thought of it in like just the movement. My friend Ian Eastwood did the choreography for it. Yeah, I mean, because you're getting paid to put thought into a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
even if it's the theme song.
Especially if it's the theme song.
Right.
Especially if it's the art on your wall. You know what I mean? Like, just like these things look like, a lot of shows and movies just look like Crate and Barrel catalogs.
So if let's say Hulu hires you tomorrow to run Hulu, what are the first 3 things you do?
I changed the web design. I changed the format and the colors. I think
I don't like the web design either.
It's kind of a pastel thing, and what really works if you have like a big database is to like lean into it. Is why like Costco works and Sam's Club and Netflix, really works as like a database, and you kind of know how to go through the archives there. So I think it's probably that's thing number one.
By the way, just to interrupt you, I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah,
it's too hard to find stuff on Hulu.
Yeah.
Netflix, I can look at 50 things in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Including all my favorite haunted house movies.
Well, especially, look, in the race for, like, what's good about Hulu's, they have to make a decision between being HBO and be Netflix. And that is a choice that you make. Do you want to curate it? Because the design lends itself to, like, a more HBO kind of, like, curated experience. But subscription growth is based off catalog. Yeah. And it's why Netflix is spending $6 billion a year on content, and it's catalog, and catalogs need like catalogs, like archives. If you look in the record book of an archive, that's what Netflix looks like, and that's what like it kind of everything. So the content you create will fall under that, right? It'll lean into like exactly what we're doing. Look, they got a lot of smart people. I don't know why I'm just like trying to lay out.
No, you're right. All right, so that's one. 2 more.
2 more.
2 more things you would do if you took over Hulu tomorrow.
I mean,
or any streaming service.
Well,
I'm giving you the keys to each one. You can pick it, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's so many, because there's so many base things before you even get to content. You know, Netflix, you know, sustainability, you know, the people, myself, and a lot of writers at the Wall Street Journal question. And like, you know, I don't know. You would just kind of have to look at the mission statements of all these things and then kind of work accordingly. Because the first thing, I don't even want to sound like just this like lofty. The first thing you do is like fix and change and then move in the direction. So you like altering course is like turning the ship around.
Yeah. I would do like, I wish Netflix had more of a Rotten Tomatoes type model as one part of it, like over on the right, where it's just like, because they have a popular on Netflix thing, but I wish it was actually like ranked.
Well, they had
I would like to see a list.
They got rid of it, right?
I like to know like what are the 10 things people are fired up about right now.
Yeah,
I don't know how they do that, and they could probably rig it in bad ways. But
I will say, from a standpoint of like when you enjoy knowing the consensus, it can be a bit frustrating. It does make sense.
I would want to get mad at the consensus.
Well,
I just enjoy being like, really?
Yeah. Well,
that's number one.
I bet you get a better distribution of attention. Yeah. By not having ratings, because it's not that thing that we're just not going to watch because the rating is too low, and you give everything.
I don't even think it should be ratings. I think it should be more like what people are drifting to right now, or what
popularity.
Something. Because occasionally there's going to be some weird movie and they'll be like, why is that number 7? What is that?
Yeah.
Right
like
now,
charts.
I go to.
You think it should have charts?
Something along the lines of what iTunes or now Apple does with podcasts, where they rig the best podcasts aren't downloads. It's more like newer podcasts and what's So it's almost like, here are the new ones we have.
That makes sense, but I do wonder if it draws too much attention. Like that's the hard thing, like everything has to get kind of a similar push. You know what I mean? Like, because you champion this one thing and then you have content that stands out far over another thing, and then
well, they usually push 4 things a week, it seems like.
You get your email.
Like the latest Adam Sandler movie, some 7-part docuseries about something horrible that happened, some new sitcom, and then some movie that they're excited about. And that's it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see, the real thing with Netflix, I'd be curious to see them having the film that makes the big cultural splash, the House of Cards of features for them. I'd be curious to.
So what are you doing 10 years from now?
Other than our anniversary show that we'll do?
Yeah, 10-year anniversary show other than that. 20-year anniversary of you coming to LA.
I really don't know. Hopefully.
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, I just don't. Whatever I want to do, hopefully, not to sound like, Veruca Salt, but I just mean it like in the sense of just like, the thing that I feel the most passion toward.
Well, what I'm intrigued by just talking to you the last hour is it seems like you're leaving everything wide open and you don't know what's going to happen, and you're just going to drift toward what gets you excited, which I think most people reach that point when they're older, but you're young to reach that point, which I think is an advantage.
Yeah, it's like
mostly people who are 30 and under are just like grabbing stuff, and then they realize, I shouldn't do that. I should be more careful. But it seems like you're already out of that.
Oh yeah, don't grab anything.
Yeah, that's good though. That's an advantage.
Makes it like, I don't know, just make stuff, do the thing. Like that's what you came here for. Like every company and person can, should always revisit their mission statement. Right? You know what I mean? Like, and I moved to LA to make stuff, and that's what I like to do, and that's what I'll stick to. And like, probably won't be the black friend in a thing because I want to make stuff, and that's not
the black friend.
That's just true to what my thing
Have you
is.
done that yet? Have you been in the rom-com where you're like the black friend who gives perspective?
I'm sure I've been a black friend probably once. So can't help it. You're black and you're friendly. You're gonna eventually be a.
Go to a bar. Yo, man, you should go for her. She likes you, man.
Yo, bro, I bring the ethnic dialect to the film.
Yeah, go talk to her.
Where a director probably they don't ask you to say the N-word, but they want you to say the N-word. Put a little funk on it, as they just
say. They look at you intently.
No one says that.
They look at you intently, hoping you'll read their mind.
Yeah, just like, is this the every take? Every take.
Maybe just
is he gonna
put a little extra in it this take? Maybe
is he gonna say it?
You know what I mean? A little extra.
A little extra. Put a little funk on it. You want to take a break? Would you like some Hennessy? That could really get us what we.
All right, we're wrapping up. This was fun. I'm glad we did this.
This is really great.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking
My
time.
favorite thing is that you're not even promoting anything. You just came here to hang.
We had spent years trying to figure out a conversation.
Yeah. You're busy.
And then I was like, let's just do it.
Yeah. All right, great.
This is really fun. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
All right. All right, thanks to ZipRecruiter. Don't forget to go to ZipRecruiter.com/BS. Thanks to the Dave Chang Show. Oh, yeah. Launching Thursday on the Ringer Podcast Network. Please subscribe. This podcast is going to be great. I defy you not to like this podcast. It's going to be awesome. Thanks to Simply Safe Home Security. Simply Safe, ready for anything that gets thrown at it. Storms, cut phone lines, destroyed keypads, you name it. Even if you don't have to be ready for every worst case scenario, Simply Safe, always ready just in case. That's what makes it great. They charge you what's fair. $14.99 a month, no contracts, no hidden fees. I recommend Simply Safe to everyone I know. Go today to simplysafe.com/BS. That is Simply Safe with 2 I's. Simplysafe.com/BS. Ringer NBA show. They are taping tonight, Wednesday night. They are reacting to all 4 games. Check that out. And the Ringer NFL show has been breaking down the draft all week, and we'll continue to break down the draft as it keeps going with the crew from GM Street, Clark and Mays. Everybody's there. That's it. I will be in your wherever you get your podcasts. If you subscribe, which I hope you do, I will be in your little pod, whatever. What are they? Feed? I'll be in your feed. Be in your feed late on Thursday night with reactions to the Game 6s of the NBA playoffs and the NFL draft. Until then.